Hey everyone, my name is Natalie Mowbray. I'm here to teach a class about Google Forms. This is an introductory class, something that I put together based on a training that I did with some of the staff in my own district. This is introductory though, so if you've used Google Forms before, this probably won't be too helpful for you. I just wanted to give some of us who are new to distance learning some ideas on how we can use forms to help us in our classrooms. So who am I? My name is Natalie Mowbray. I teach third grade in Roscoe, Illinois. I'm a wife, a mom to one third grade daughter, also a dog mom, and definitely a technology lover. I put my contact information down here at the bottom of the page. One thing that I think is important for you to notice is this Facebook page here that I run with a dear friend, Crystal Ellis. It's called 10-Minute Tech for Teachers. If you're looking for ways to integrate technology into your classroom, no matter what grade level, I would encourage you to check out our Facebook page. It's time for us to learn a little bit about Google Forms. I thought I'd better let you know what it is since this is an introductory course. According to Google, you can see over here that Forms is a way to get answers fast. It's a way to create surveys with style, and it is definitely very organized and easy to analyze. This is an example of a blank form over here, but we'll be creating ours here in just a little bit today. Some of the reasons that I use forms in my classroom is to gather data from parents for permission slips or field trips, student conference logs for reading and writing, for self-grading assessments, party invitations or RSVPs, or even for exit tickets. In this distance learning that we're all getting used to now, I really think that you guys could use it for self-grading assessments, taking quizzes in reading or even in math, or in our district, we're using Google Forms to gather attendance each day. So there's a lot of different ways that I'll step you through as we go along here. Some of the pros and cons. I want you to know it's not a perfect program, but there are a lot of really good things about it. Google Forms is really easy to use, even for beginners. Works super well with Google Classroom, which many of us I know are using right now in this distance learning. Things are self-graded, so save you some time. Some cons, it doesn't work well with questions that require a written response. It's really for multiple choice things, maybe like a short fill in the blank, like a name of a place. And it can be time consuming to retype your assessments. However, if you're doing this with a team or you're thinking it's something you could use year after year, it's really something that's worthwhile. I wanted to show you some examples of how I've used forms in my classroom so that you can wrap your head around some different ways that you can use it for your students. One of the ways that I used it was as a reading conference form. This was a form that I used when I was listening and reading with the students. Forms has many different ways that it could take on. You can ask all different types of questions, but this just shows you can have some check boxes, you can have some short answers, or even some rating scales. Another way that I've used Google Forms in my classroom is for math. I really like it because you can insert pictures or videos to help your students get the idea of the question. Here I inserted some pictures of graphs, and then the answers were down at the bottom. The students just picked the answer there. Some of the questions I formatted that they actually had to type in the answer though. I felt okay with that since this was just math, and we'll talk more about that later. Another way that I used forms in my classroom was to just gather information on my students. We were working on expository writing, and I wanted to get some of their ideas so I knew what our essays might be about. And finally, I wanted to show you all the different possibilities in forms. I do weekly goal setting with my students, and they do a weekly goal reflection. In forms, you're even able to set up different sections so that the students get different questions based on their previous answers. This is really nice if you're trying to get specific information out of students. We won't be getting into all of that today, but if that's something you really want to do, I would love and be more than happy to show you how to use those sections in Google Forms. Another thing that I love about Google Forms is they make these awesome graphs for you after the students have responded to your questions. This is an example of a graph that was from my goal reflection. I could quickly and easily see how many students did not meet their goal versus how many students did meet their goal. Over here is a graph from a math form that I used where I'm able to see exactly how many students responded to each answer. This is really, really helpful when you're using forms. in your classroom so you can see where your students might need some more help. We are going to go in and create a Google form now. I thought that we would create an attendance form. It's a simple way to start, something that you can use in your classroom tomorrow, something that'll help you as we go through distance learning. Don't worry, I will walk you through it step by step. You definitely have got this. All right, we are going to go in and create our own Google form now. I'm going to take you through this step by step, so go ahead and feel free to do it right along with me. Right? To create a new form, we're going to go up to the Omni bar where we can type in forms.new. This is actually a shortcut that you can use for any of the programs within the Google Suite. Once your new form is open, I think we should go ahead and title it attendance form. I know that many of us are being required to take attendance by our administrators, and forms is a great way to do that as we utilize distance learning. When I title my form in the upper left-hand corner and I click away from it, you'll see that it will automatically populate into the center of my screen. Immediately below that is where you can write a description. I don't think we need a description for our attendance form, but if you were doing a quiz with directions, that's where I would put the directions. The first question on our attendance form should be, what is your name? We're going to type it right here where it says untitled question. When I put that in, Google automatically senses that this is a short answer question. I could change those options if I wanted to make it a paragraph or multiple choice, to have checkboxes or a drop-down menu, or even a linear scale. But to keep it simple, since this is a beginner's class, I really think short answer is fine for a student's name. On here, I do want to make sure that each student answers this question, so I'm also going to hit this toggle bar next to the word required. Now that question is required, and the students cannot turn in the Google form without answering that question. Another question you might have on an attendance form is, what school do you go to? In order to add another question, we'll hit a plus sign over here on the right. That'll bring up another question right below the one we just added. If I type in, what school do you go to? You can see that Google automatically notices this might be a multiple choice. Again, if I wanted to change that and make it a short answer, that would be fine too. But I'm going to leave this as multiple choice because there are 4 schools in my school district. So I'm going to put those in here as the options for where the students might go to school. An attendance form is not something that will have a right or wrong answer, and we're also not going to assign any points to this. Although those are both things that you can do in forms, I don't think we need to do that for this particular form. Again, I want to make sure that the students are answering what school they go to, so I would click on that required toggle bar next to it. Since my goal is for you to learn how to use Google Forms in your classroom this week, I would leave the attendance form at this. One thing I might do just to make it a little bit more fun is to change it away from this purple theme, which is the automatic theme within Google Forms. If you click on this palette button up here, it says Customize Theme. Many options will pop up. You can simply change the color if you would like, but if you're an elementary teacher like me, I love to have a picture that goes along with it for everything. Let's see. One picture that I might put in there is these banners. When I hit Insert, they go right to the top of the form, and you can see everything automatically changes. If you want, you could change the theme colors or the background colors. On the right side here, you could also change the font. One thing I do want to warn you about, if you have any students who use programs that read the screen for them, I have found that this playful font does not always transfer. I do typically leave my Google Forms in basic font for that reason. So now we have a form ready to take attendance for our students. If you'd like to see what the students will see, simply click on the eye at the top. The eyeball is a preview button and allows you to see it as if you were a student. Notice there are red stars next to what is your name and what school do you go to. That's because we made those required questions. I would like to take a minute to go back and show you why I like to use multiple choice questions when using Google Form. When I look at my view that I'm editing, this blue bar shows me what question I am on. And here you can see I have the school choices for what school do you go to. If I was to make this a short answer question on something that was graded, and one of the students spelled a school like Ledgewood or Kinnickinnick incorrectly, the Google Forms would automatically mark that wrong. When I'm using Google Forms to take a grade with my students, I really want it to be as simple as possible. By just giving them the choices to click, I'm still getting the same information from them while making sure that it's not marking them off for spelling. Of course, if you were using it for spelling, that would be a different choice, different option. I'd like to practice adding another question to this just to make sure that you get the hang of it. So let's say we're back on our attendance form and I want to add one more question. I again hit the plus sign that's on the right side of the screen and I get a question that pops up. The blue bar lets me know what question I am on. Maybe I have a question on my attendance form that says, what is today's date? Now, Google Forms could automatically collect this for you, but if you want to have a question in there, you can just simply add it in yourself and you can choose. I'd like it to be a short answer, a paragraph, a multiple choice. You could even do a drop-down menu. One of their options is date, which allows the kids to pick a date. We'll leave that question in there. Again, I'll make it required. I do want you to notice right next to the required button is a trash can. If you're working on a question and you decide you don't want it, or you have too much editing to do and you just want to delete it, simply hit that trash can and it'll delete that question right out of there. I also want to take you to an example of a quiz that I used with my students. So you can see what to do on something that you're grading, something different than the attendance form. This was a comprehension quiz that we did for a story called Cardigan Jones, which was part of our reading series. These questions came straight out of our series. I just typed them into Google Forms. I want to show you what to do when you're using this as a quiz. For example, if I go into settings, which is the little gear up here in the right-hand corner, and I click on it, I can go to quizzes. You can see that I made this a quiz by using this little toggle bar here. I allowed my students to see their grades immediately. I also allowed my students to see which questions they missed, which questions they got correct, and the point values of those questions. I want to show you how to assign a point value to a question in case you do choose to use this as a way to assess your students. Again, the blue bar shows me which question I am on. So if I want to work here on this question, what did Cardigan do to make everyone think he stole the pie? I would go down to the bottom of the question and click on Answer Key. This will appear because in the gear setting, I made this a quiz. When I hit on Answer Key, I'm able to go and choose the correct answer here along the side of my options. So he stopped to smell the pie is the correct answer. Then I go over to this box here and I'm able to insert the number of points. This question is just worth 1 point, but I can assign it whatever point value I would like it to be. When I'm done selecting the correct answer and assigning the point value, I simply hit done. And then I can move on to the next question. Again, I want that blue bar to be next to the question I'm on. So now I'm working on the question, why did the police arrest Cardigan? When I hit Answer Key, I'm able to choose the correct answer. It'll put a green check mark, and then again choose the point value. If you follow this for each of your questions all the way through your quiz, then your quiz will become self-graded. One thing again that I do suggest is making each question mandatory. This red star here shows me that it's required. The students have to answer that question. So I actually think I forgot to do that for a few of these. When the blue bar is next to the question, I can slide it over, make it required for the students to answer these questions. That way I don't get any quizzes turned in that are half completed. Anytime I'm done making changes, they're automatically saved because we are in Google Drive, which automatically saves everything. To show you what those responses looked like, if I click on responses, I can see a summary of my student scores here. I'm not going to scroll through it all right now since it has student names in it, but you can see I can do a summary, I can see it by question, I can see individual scores, a lot of different ways that I can look at that data and help to use it to inform my instruction. All right, so how are we feeling? I really think you guys have got this. Google Forms is going to be really so helpful to you when you're teaching from home. I would love to be able to help you. So I also put at the end of my presentation here a step-by-step guide to creating a Google Forms self-graded quiz. If you're interested in me sharing this with you, just send me an email, nataliemowbray2@gmail.com, and I will get you all this information to help you create your own Google Forms quizzes to use in your classroom. I really hope that you were able to create something today that you can push out to your students tomorrow. All right, talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.